Well, hey, y'all. This is Crazynursegranny here. We're crazy nose crazy. And it's still crazy out there in the YouTube world, isn't it? Well, listen, I got a little story to tell you today. Now, when I was a little girl, I had an older brother and sister, and I had two younger sisters. I was the middle. Now, when my brother was 16, he got his girlfriend pregnant, and he was the quarterback of the football team and the student council president. And I remember my daddy was so disappointed because my brother was looking at a scholarship for football. And I remember those long night talks at the kitchen table. And I think that's the first time I ever saw my daddy disappointed. Well, my brother, he did the right thing and he joined the Army. And he spent 30 years in the Army and retired. And my dad ended up being very proud of my brother. Now, my sister, when I was 13 and she was 16, she got pregnant by her boyfriend. Yes, she did. And they got married and he moved in the house and they lived in the big bedroom next to mine. So, I had a best girlfriend named Lisa, and we were friends from second grade for the rest of our lives. Best friends, always together. And we always stayed at my house because my mom would drink a lot, and we'd be able to do whatever we wanted. So, my house was the place to be. Well, we used to always hear the hardwood floors outside my bedroom. We used to hear that floor creaking like somebody was right outside the door. It used to scare us to death. And then, when we go in our bathroom, we had this big bathroom. And it had a laundry chute in it. And the laundry chute is you open the door and it's in the wall. And you drop the clothes down and they fall all the way down to the basement. Well, my girlfriend and I, when we'd be in that bathroom, there was a bedroom on the other side of it that was empty, and we'd always hear these noises. Sound like somebody creeping around in that bedroom, and it would scare us to death. We were scared to go in that bedroom. Well, one day I was in the bathroom going potty, and all of a sudden I heard Lisa say, "I see you." I said, "What you talking about?" I didn't know where she was. She said, "You're going potty. I see you." I said, "What are you talking about?" She comes busting in the bathroom. She said, "You gotta see what I found." We went in that bedroom that was next to the bathroom, and she showed me this hole in the wall. And if you looked through that hole, you could see the whole bathroom. Somebody had drilled a hole in that wall and was watching us go to the bathroom and take baths and stuff. Now, isn't that horrible? So anyway, I told my daddy. My daddy said he'd take care of it. He said, "Don't tell your sister, though, because she's got enough going on right now." So I didn't tell my sister. But I kind of hurt my feelings because I thought, goodness, he's watching my honey. But he took care of it because it didn't happen anymore. No more creaking. The ghost disappeared. Okay, so the point of the story is because my brother got a girl pregnant and my sister got pregnant at 16, I decided I didn't want to have to put myself through that because I saw how hard it was for them. So I decided the only way to keep from getting pregnant was to not be sexually active. So I wasn't. And another thing is birth control wasn't readily available to us back then like it is now. Not at all. So I behaved myself in that area. Probably the only area I did, though. So anyway, me and my best friend Lisa, we used to always go to her sister's house and play cards. We would play euchre, and we would spend our weekends there. And we'd get us a 6-pack of Michelob Light, and we'd play euchre, and we just have a good old time. Well, one night their neighbor came over, and he was 28-year-old man. And he was there, and he was playing euchre with us, and we were all playing cards. And he wanted to go get some of his music out of his house so we could listen to it. And he was asking me what kind of music I liked. So he wanted me to go over there and pick out some music. So I did. Now this is where it gets serious, okay? So I walked across the street, and I was 15 years old. And I went in the house. I was immediately pushed to the back bedroom, straight onto the bed. Next thing I knew, my pants were down. Now, all I remember is the ceiling, because I didn't know it at the time, but I disassociated. And that's when you take your feelings and you remove them from what your body is experiencing at the time. So all I remember is the ceiling, and I can still see it clearly today. And I don't even know how long I was there, but all I did was I walked back across the street, and I went back to my friend's house, and I just laid down and went to sleep. Okay, now the point of this story is, for the next, I don't know how long, I walked around in a semi-state of shock. I remember feeling like I was numb, but I was a virgin, so I was sore all the way from my waist, all the way down to my knees, and I had trouble walking, but I was in a fog. And that crazy man, he got my phone number from my best friend's sister, and he started calling my house and asking me to go out on a date. Well, I had my daddy interfere with the phone calls, but I didn't tell one single person what happened to me. And it was the most traumatic thing that had probably ever happened to me at that point in my life. But I felt shame. I felt responsible. I felt like it was my fault, because if I hadn't gone in that house, it would have never happened. And I felt shame because something had been taken care away from me that was very special. And so I had feelings of just guilt, and I blamed myself. And that's why I didn't tell anyone, because I felt like it was my fault, because I walked into that house on my own accord. But that was the mind of a 15-year-old. And my point here is that's why Me Too is so important. Because what it does is it gives women and men and children, it tells them, it sends a message that if you don't have anyone in your life you feel like you can go to and tell someone something, it's okay to go to a professional or to the police or somebody. But when I was a child, I felt like I had no one to turn to, no one to share this with. And I felt all alone. And I didn't tell anyone until I was 28 years old. I didn't tell anyone that I was raped when I was 15. So what upsets me is there are a lot of people in the world that when people come out after years and they tell their stories about being sexually assaulted or abused, and there's those naysayers, some of the first things they say is, well, why didn't you tell your story sooner? Why did you wait so long to tell anyone? If it was true, then why did you keep it a secret? Well, I'm sorry. If you've ever been through it, you can understand that there's so much shame and guilt and fear and confusion, and I was even in a state of mild shock, that you don't have the ability to think clearly. And if you're in a dysfunctional family, which a lot of people are, a lot of times you feel like you have nowhere to turn. So I kept it inside. But the thing about the Me Too movement is, yes, there's people that do false allegations against others, but it's giving victims a voice, and that is so important. It is such an important thing. And you should never doubt someone just because they waited till years later to tell their story, because there's so much self-blame that goes on with these type of crimes. And when it happens to children or women that feel alone, they feel like nobody will believe them, and they blame themselves. And that's why it's so hard. So what you need to remember is don't ever not believe someone just because they don't tell their story right away. Because a lot of times they just don't have the ability to do so. But what we need to remember is that if there's anyone in your life, if you see any changes, personality changes or behavior changes, or changes in their grades or their work ability, if you have friends, family members, children, anybody, just watch out for behavior changes and have a talk with them. Because a lot of times things happen that are very destructive and hurtful that a lot of people are too ashamed to talk about. But a lot of times if someone would just say, "Hey, are you okay? You don't seem right. Is there something you want to talk about?" Let's learn to watch, listen, and be there for the people in our lives that might be struggling and going through something that need us. So I know the Me Too movement has brought out a lot of false accusations, but it's also done a wonderful thing for those silent victims like me who were afraid to speak out, afraid to talk. So, if you want to be a victim's advocate, just make sure that if you're defending the accused person, don't attack the victim because you don't know their story. Please never go after someone who is claiming they've been abused, even if it's years later, because there's reasons why we don't talk. This is Crazy Nurse Granny here, signing off. Y'all have a great day. Love y'all. Bye.